All right. All right, I see some more people trickling in. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining today and spending this hour out of your day to discuss home hardening and join Fire Safe Council for our Firewise 101 series and office hours. My name is Jennifer Valadez. I'm the project manager for Fire Safe Council for Monterey County. Today's session will be covering home hardening. I know it's been a topic that's come up in our previous pre-meeting surveys and post-meeting surveys, and yeah, just discussing some options that you have if you've already done your defensible space, your zone 0, or looking to do some upgrades to your home for fire safety. So just some housekeeping. Monthly sessions are posted on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist. I don't think they're in order, but they should all be there if you're wanting to see which ones you want to watch or share with the group or share with a neighbor who's interested in Firewise. Some community events coming up. I think we only have 2 for the rest of this month. So Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection Working Group, and that's under the United Policyholders. And they're really focused on just insurance and homeowner protections for insurance. And that's next Tuesday, July 28th at 1 p.m. And Fire Safe Council's regular board meeting is the last Thursday of the month, so that should be on the 30th, I believe, and the open portion is 10:30 to 12 p.m. And we are, I think, one of the larger groups for these sessions, so please wait until the end or for any questions, or drop them in the meeting chat as you think of them. Turn off your camera if you're not like to be recorded. And also, whenever I end the session or whenever you leave the session, post-meeting survey will pop up. It's optional, but greatly appreciated for feedback. For office hours, yeah, raise your hand, use the raising your hand feature to speak or use the chat. Remember to be mindful of everyone's time. And if you have any questions you'd like to take offline, you can contact me or the regional Firewise coordinator at these emails here, genv.ffcmc@gmail.com or firewise.ffcmc@gmail.com. All right, so the agenda. I do have a pre-meeting survey that kind of helps me get an idea of who's with us today and who, if you're, already a Firewise recognized community, that helps me give an idea of how much people already know and who's attending these sessions. Then we'll cover, how homes ignite, the main 3 pathways that homes ignite, as well as vent options, roof, gutter, chimneys, soffit siding and windows, decks, patios, porches, fencing, garages, driveways, and then put together a short checklist of what to look for, and also discussing how to choose a contractor. So as stated, I will now launch the pre-meeting survey. It's just like a short poll, 4 questions, and just gives me an idea who's attending today. And I'll just leave it open for about a minute or so, just so we can keep going on with the session. Okay, I think it's kind of split in half, or the majority are already recognized Firewise or part of a recognized Firewise site. And some people are just newer to Firewise. Okay, I think, yeah, we have a mixed bag today. Yeah, so we'll cover most of everything, like how to harden your home, the discounts, and yeah, thank you so much for filling that out. All right, so I wanted to cover how homes ignite. So there are three main wildfire exposure types, and the most destructive are embers. So embers are windblown firebrands traveling like miles. In the LA fires, we saw that they traveled like miles ahead or miles away from where the fire had started, and they're ahead of the fire front, away from like the active fire. And they can, nestle themselves in vents, gutters, roofs, and in between debris in any crevice, really, that's near the home. And they're the most common cause for losing your home, unfortunately. Also, radiant heat. Radiant heat is just the heat, coming off of the fire or nearby burning vegetation or structures. So let's say like the siding of, or your bush is burning 3 feet away, 2 feet away, or like even close to your home. That radiant heat could be the cause of it going onto the siding of your home, and can ignite structure materials without directly touching or being the direct contact at your house. And also direct flame, just, the fire just being there, contact and reaching it from adjacent vegetation, fencing, or adjacent structures that ignite the siding, decks, or other materials. So this is what we want to avoid when there's vegetation in zone 0. So there's direct
What do
contact.
you think about this woman's voice who's talking?
Hello? There's someone.
Doing
She sounds very young.
Yeah, I can hear. So we'll move on for vents. So when we're thinking about vents, it's just kind of an opening for embers to catch in, and they are on, on the sides of your house, on the siding, and is just direct opening into any attics where there might be any dust, debris, crawl spaces, etc., where you might be storing things that you haven't thought of for a while, or it's just causing an entry for embers, and can ignite a home from the inside out. And it is kind of like a quiet way for a fire to start, because it might not be visible from the perspective of a firefighter on the street just walking past. So look into upgrading to ember resistant or flame resistant vents. So looking for vents tested with withstanding ember intrusion, or just looking at vents that are 1/8 of an inch mesh that might be able to suffocate the embers if there are any going to your house. Cover or retrofit existing vents. So if you can't replace the entire vent, add a corrosive resistant 1/8 of an inch metal mesh behind existing vent openings, or just above it. I've seen that too. People just above the vents that they have, or if they have those vents that have the slits, and cover, just adding the 1/8 of an inch behind those can work. And also just looking if there's any entry points. So many like the attic, foundation, or like crawl space ventings, checking just all around and seeing where they can be replaced. And then seal any unintentional gaps. So gaps around pipes, utility penetrations, or a roof wall joint should be sealed, maybe fire rated chalk, or just sealing them just so they're closed off from any embers that might enter. Roof, gutters, and chimneys. So with roofing, the primary recommendation is that you upgrade to a Class A fire rated roof covering. Yeah, and if you just have a like wood shingles, it's, it might not be the best. They are flammable and combustible. And if that's not feasible for you to replace all of it, you can do, upgrading. You can make a way for you to make the roof that you already have Class A by just adding different parts to it. And then just doing routine maintenance, removing any leaves, needles, debris where embers can nestle in on your roof. Just blowing off your roof routinely when you can. And gutters, there are a lot of like gutter guards that you could purchase that are non-combustible. And again, they're just like blocking the debris from entering. And also is flashing between the roof edge and the gutters to stop ember entry. A lot of this is focused on where can we suffocate the ember and, reduce that point of contact. And with chimneys, it's recommended that your chimney have like a screen around it, again, to prevent a fire or any embers that you're using in your fire burning, your fire burning chimney from exiting and also entering. So, and also keeping like a clearance of 10 feet of any overhanging branches and clearing any debris that it might be on the chimney, and anything that might collect. And now I've just combined soffit sidings and windows. So with soffits and eaves, so it's a transition between roof and wall traps, hot gas during a fire. So enclosing eaves or build soffits with non-combustible materials for heat and flame protection. For siding, it might not be feasible to completely change the exterior siding of your home. Non-combustible siding can still kind of be affected by radiant heat and might cause some structural damage. So just focusing on the zone 0 around it to reduce the siding from igniting or melting or having any like foundational risk of it failing after a fire. And for windows, single pane can crack pretty easily with radiant heat exposure and also opening a path for embers and flames. It's recommended to install dual pane windows with at least one tempered pane. And the tempered glass should be the one that's outside the window. That should be the one facing out. So if that one breaks, or there's less of a chance for that one to break and then catch the other one too. And for decks, patios, and porches, it's less so about the boarding material. It's more about what's stored underneath and how close vegetation is growing to the structure and around it. So enclosing the underside of elevated decks to block ember accumulation. Again, I've seen a lot of people doing the 1/8 screen mashing around and also putting gravel underneath where their deck is, or just raking it to bare soil as well is a good kind of way if you don't want to get gravel or you don't want to put that meshing either. You can just have it plain.
That's similar to ours. We have.
It's also recommended not to store any firewood during really dry seasons or propane tanks or combustibles under or on the deck. For firewood, if it's really close to your house and you still want to store it there and that's your main point of having warmth in your house, then you can buy one of the little holders where you can have just a couple pieces of logs, etc., near your house. And then if there's a red flag warning, etc., nearby fire, you can move it. It's easier for you to move away from your home and giving you some space so it's not directly there. As well as clearing any leaf and litter, needle litter between deck boards regularly. And then some plants can be really sneaky and ivies can be really sneaky and start making their way up. And you want to just disrupt that fire path and trim those back and clear those wherever possible. I know some decks can also be on slopes. So for that, I would recommend trimming those down as much as you can. You also don't want to cause any soil erosion under your deck if it's on a slope. So I just recommend, trimming those down so you're not causing any slides or anything underneath your home either, or disrupting your foundation that's there. Yeah, keeping vegetation trimmed away from deck edges or the stair access. So also they can be really sneaky and creep up underneath, doing the same thing, raking it away to just bare soil or trimming it down as much as you can.
This is got tile, but they're not together.
Also, well-maintained wood, composite, or metal decking can resist embers when kept clear of debris. It's also what you can do is like partial hardening. So you can replace maybe the first 5 little boards that you have with like the metal decking or the class A decking or, less combustible decking that's there. So you have whatever nearest to the home be less prone to igniting. Then just rule of thumb, if you have anything on your deck under it that could catch, maybe it just shouldn't be on your deck. And then with fencing, garages and driveway, this is where you could be replacing, some fencing. So it's recommended that the first 5 feet of your fence that you have touching your house be replaced with metal or masonry or something non-combustible. Also, not keeping any wood that you might use for your chimney or for cooking next to your fences or gates. Having kind of a designated little of firewood. I've seen like little metal sheds too that people use that are farther away from your home, and then something that's movable close to your home can be an alternative route. Yeah, replacing combustible gates attached to structure with non-combustible materials. For garages and driveways, just keeping that kind of clear so it's accessible. I think with this is the rule of thumb of keeping it visible. A lot of firefighters might not be familiar with Monterey County, or they're contracted out. So if there's an active fire, you want them to be able to access your home and be able to clearly see your address numbers for emergency responders. Yeah, keeping 10 feet of vegetation clearance, and then storing any flammable liquids away. I know sometimes we have some gas or propane near garages and driveways. Yeah, just keeping that in mind. And then a priority checklist. We discussed a lot of things that you could retrofit or you can change from your home, but they can be very costly. So what are some things that you should maybe focus on right away? So clearing the first 5 feet. I know in previous sessions, we talked a lot about vegetation and the importance of that. And I think just having that clearance gives your home a better fighting chance. Screening or upgrading attic, crawl space, and foundation vents. That's the next step with that 1/8 of a screen, 1/8 non-combustible mesh material. Yeah, cleaning roofs and gutters. So not having anywhere for leaves, or not having anywhere for embers to catch any leaves or debris that might, with the wind of a fire, blow it away too. You could add or verify your chimney spark arrestor screening too. Moving firewood and propane at least 30 feet from structures. And if your house doesn't have 30 feet of clearance around it, just as far as you can. Also clearing debris from under and on top of decks, and just like trimming that down. If you have ivies growing, if you have any wisteria, jasmine, etc., consider removing those from on top of your decks or your staircases. Another option is replacing the first 5 feet of your fencing with non-combustible metal or masonry composite on the side. And then posting your address in the white and green reflective signage, and consider weather strip the garage door in case sometimes it's like pretty tight, but if you haven't checked it out yet, just checking out to see if there's any gaps in your garage door. Also, I found a great resource from Fire Safe Marin about choosing a contractor, how to verify their work, and you're putting a lot of money and investing a lot for upgrading, Class A roofs, your siding, etc. So some kind of things to consider when choosing a contractor. So you could gather recommendations from neighbors if you're in a Firewise community, chatting to see if anyone has done any of these upgrades or retrofits. Also using the Monterey Bay Firewise Partners Forum. There's a lot of good discussion. You can just ask a question, hey, has anyone used this contractor for a Class A roof, and see if anyone has, and what their feedback is, what their experience was.
No.
Verifying licensing credentials, maybe if they have any wildfire mitigation experience. So see if anyone of the contractors has any maybe Zone 0 experience. Sometimes previously we've had Granite Rock talk about what they do for hardscaping. So they have experience in seeing, kind of placing with plant placing, as well as like any rock options that they have for Zone 0 as well. You could interview multiple contractors before deciding, just kind of doing due diligence and see, who could do the work, who might not have as much experience. Again, checking references from similar or recent jobs that they have done. Yeah, get scope, materials, and cost in writing. It could be pretty costly, having buzzwords of zone zero or wildfire mitigation, all these things might add up. Just seeing who has the best price for your set budget that you want to allocate for these retrofits. Also evaluate communication and compatibility for your work is also another thing that you could do. And I also wanted to plug in, so the California Fire Safe Council has like a fire safe business directory that they have, and I'll share it here. It might not have local businesses here, but yeah, it's just some providers that you could check to see if they're nearby, requesting a quote from them. There's some environmental consultants, if maybe some arborists. I'm not too sure. I haven't taken, a full look of what is offered, since it's pretty big document, but we can check here, Monterey County, see if there's any specific businesses that do the work. There's some tree experts if you want to remove a tree, and how to do that. And also, if you are looking to remove a tree, I believe you'd have to hire like an arborist and see. It's also might be a time and monetary cost to do that, but just checking with the county and the permitting office to see what you would need to do and how to maybe also see if that is considered a fire hazard, like your tree, or a community hazard, to see if the county could remove it with county resources. And with that, I also wanted to direct attention to the Wildfire Prepared Homes. It's a program from IBHS, or the insurance, or the Institute for Business and Home Safety. And they do partner with insurance a lot of the time to see what are the main priority. They do a lot of wildfire research specifically on homes, that they've done a lot of the research behind Zone Zero and defensible space. And with this is a long-term solution. There are a lot of retrofits that take time to kind of do, and this is the how to prepare checklist that they've developed. And yeah, I can share this as well in the chat to see if anyone is interested in just going through the checklist. Yeah, so non-combustible zone covers a lot of vegetation, trees, ground cover. Sorry, there is some work behind my house too that's going on. Let me see if I can remove some of the noise. Let's see. Okay. And combustible items, where to store them. And it's a more in-depth resource than what I've provided, just because it's kind of an overview of what you can do, what your options are. But they are more strict, just because they work a lot of times with insurance. They have more stricter standards. But with that, I also wanted to direct attention to what wildfire hardening discounts you have offered to you if you have the California FAIR Plan. And I understand the FAIR Plan is, the last resort for obtaining insurance, but these are some things that to consider if you're looking to receive any discounts on that. So for structure discounts, specifically for home hardening, they prioritize getting a Class A roof, enclosing eaves, ember resistant or fire resistant eaves, the 1/8 inch screening, or more popular brand of this are Vulcan vents, but they are more costly than just getting the size. Upgrading windows, multi-pane or functional shutters, And then having the 6 inches from the bottom of all exterior walls made of non-combustible material. And then immediate surroundings is more so about defensible space and zone 0. This I can also share. This is what United Policyholders has uploaded. And it's a great little just 1-page information sheet. And as far as I know, this is the latest, most updated one. Yeah, and it was last updated around last year, late last year. Lastly, in terms of insurance and in terms of hardening your home for insurance, I want to direct you to United Policyholders. They have a great working group that's called WRAP, or the Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection Initiative. And on their website here, they have the official standards here, the wildfire prepared homes and the safer from wildfires that the Department of Insurance has published. Also, like assessing your home. Like I said, a lot of insurance companies are more strict than the state. Sorry, some feedback. So then the state, just because they, are a private entity and can decide those things, to offer someone insurance, unfortunately. And staying insured, all these resources, and also, a list of or that there are monitoring mitigation discounts offered by home insurers in California. And they're also here. I know State Farm might be kind of, question on if they are coming back or not. But the approved ones are here as of May 2026. And yeah. Have a lot, just overview here specific to insurance. And with that, I, kind of the office hours portion for that, or, we've now finished the informational portion. I wanted to kind of go to the chat. Maybe there's some questions I might have missed while presenting. I wanted to read out here from Janice that she was told to have firewood stacked at least 30 feet away from the home, away from home/deck, and to also cover the stack completely with fire-resistant tarp. Yes, this is also another option that you could do. You can either have like a little metal shed, non-combustible shed, 30 feet away from the house, or covering it with fire-resistant tarp. Again, one might be more costly than the other, but just kind of weighing out your options and seeing what is best fit for you and your home. Adele made the comment that I believe that the size/diameter of the tree trunk dictates whether an arborist is required for removal. I also believe this too, just because where I am in Santa Cruz County, there are big redwoods that most likely than not need an arborist to come out and see if they could be removed. And will I be sharing some of the list I am showing? Yes, I shared the United Policyholder, or the discounts for wildfire hardening discounts is the link, and the United Policyholders as well. Here, that's the latest one I shared. And wildfire prepared homes. The IBHS organization has a bigger website where they dive into all of this, and they also have a kind of a cost analysis of investing in a wildfire prepared home compared to having your home affected from a fire. And it is a good tool, but I would just check this out first and see where you can make those upgrades. And from Karen, there's a question, is the zone 0 no flammable materials still required? I've heard that after some public hearing in Southern California, there was some consideration of fire-resistant plants in fireproof containers being allowed in zone 0. Yeah, so zone 0 from the Board of Forestry is still in discussion. I mean, the specific language, but for now it is like no combustibles. From the recent hearings, Karen is right that there have been some consideration of them being in ceramic pots close to your home. Ceramic pots, and the plant can't be above 18 inches. And I think that's the last that I've heard on that, or the latest information I can recall. But you can check out the Board of Forestry online. They publicize their recent meetings and the notes that come out of that here on their website. Zone 0, maybe in FAQs there's some information. Might not have been up. Yeah, this was last updated in 2025. Their latest meeting. Yeah, so here's probably where you can see the draft date. Yeah, the latest information on that. And I've just added the link to this like general landing page for all the information from the Board of Forestry into the meeting chat. And I think with that, I can turn over to maybe any more questions that anyone has, or clarifying, or, etc. If anyone has any more questions or comments about hardening your home, or maybe has anyone, upgraded their roof, or, retrofitted their house in any way, or yeah, if anyone has any experience in that they'd like to add, maybe that'll also be a good time. Yeah, I see Chuck has his hand up. You might like to add.
We have a Caltrans right of way within 100 feet of our house. Are they required to follow Firewise suggestions for that zone?
Question.
The clearing of brush, the clearing of debris, etc. Do you know about what state is requiring them to do?
That's a great question, because from what I know, PG&E does do that around their poles and their, their utility lines. But for Caltrans specifically, I am not too sure. I'll have to look into maybe seeing online if there's information. From what I know, yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm more
Jennifer,
familiar with PG&E than Caltrans on the clearance that they have to do.
Jennifer, this is Pam. I don't know if
Hi,
you can
Pam.
hear me. Oh, hi. So that's an excellent question. And even I don't know the answer to that, but it certainly bears looking into. So we will definitely put it on our list. So this is an excellent group. And I think you come from a lot of different areas and different Firewise communities. And I would love to have you either ask now or drop into the chat any specific questions that you might have, because as you drill down farther into what you can do as a community or as an individual, we bump into questions like that we don't have the answers to. So this is your opportunity to make us do homework for you and see what we can find out so that we can report back. But thank you. I think that was Mr. Garrett that asked that question. And if Jennifer has your email address, we can get back to you with what we discover.
Yeah, I'll make a note of the question.
Thank you, Pam.
Because I believe they do have the responsibility to have their roadways drivable, and that includes vegetation around it. I would think that includes all the clearance around it. But I'm not sure if that is, what they follow. Yeah, just so if it's like, yeah, I'll look into that. And if wherever you're at, it's overgrown, then maybe seeing if there's a point of contact in Monterey for Caltrans and their clearance to get that kind of cleared up or routinely cleared up, for emergency access, etc.
This area that I'm talking about is between the shoulder of the highway and our property line.
Okay,
There's a fence, there's a downslope, and there's years and years of vegetation debris laying there.
I see.
To me, it's an obvious fire hazard.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a note and see if there's anything that comes up specific to like Caltrans and their maintenance. Karen,
Um,
you raised your
I
question.
just wanted to mention, I'm also where Chuck is, and they've been throwing all of the debris that they cut at the highway back down against our fence. So we now have a buildup on their side of the fence of an enormous amount of flammable material. And we don't know how to get them to remove it.
Karen, it's Pam again. Who is they? Is that Caltrans
Yes.
or is that PG&E? It is
No, it's
Caltrans?
Caltrans, and
Okay.
they've come and they've cut down the trees that were pushing against our fence, and the trunks are still there, and the branches
Okay.
are still there, and there's years worth of flammable material that they cut at the highway. I don't know, Chuck, how far is the highway away? It's all on a slope. They've cut it and they've just dumped it, and so it's dead and enormously flammable.
Highway is about 150 feet away from my house, and the fence, which is our property line, is about 100 feet away.
Okay.
Maybe less.
I know it's
Yeah.
Pam once more. Sorry, my video's not working. I do know that PG&E is responsible for removing whatever they cut. They are not to leave it on the side of the road. And if they do, if they can't get to it immediately, they are very responsible and responsive to someone calling in and saying, you didn't clean this up. They will come back. We have a great connection with PG&E, but Caltrans is a different entity. So we'll see what we can find out.
Thank you. We also just heard that AT&T is coming. No, I'm sorry. Yes, AT&T is coming around looking at how close they are in various areas. I thought they were all underground, but apparently they're not all underground.
No.
So everybody's kind of been alerted, but I don't know who's actually doing stuff.
Yeah, I've heard in the past that some, utility they're responsible for cutting it down, but they're not responsible for hauling it away. It's like a
Right.
weird kind of like, it's like a weird kind of thing where they do need to cut it down, but they aren't, expected to move it away since it's not their vegetation technically. But it's like a weird technicality in that when they remove it. So I'll look into that and see if there's anything specific for Caltrans and see maybe there's a point of contact, their Caltrans that deals with, the Karma Valley Road area specifically.
They have a portal that you can get into with a request that is immensely quick.
Okay.
We had less than 24 hours notice, I think, when they arrived.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks. Any more questions? Okay, I see in the chat. While Board of Forestry is considering a modified zone 0 that is partially non-combustible and partly low combustible, is the standard for Firewise USA communities to have zone 0 non-combustible materials only. So for, because Firewise USA is an NFPA national program, and Zone 0, I think, is specific to California and the California Board of Forestry. I don't believe that Firewise communities will be held to that standard, but you can modify or add that to your action plan as sort of working towards Zone 0. Or, kind of adding that you'll be doing X, Y, and Z that are part of the language on Zone 0. I think I will also look into that because it is something new, and NFP has already kind of changed their mapping portal for new communities. So for the standards for new communities specific to the 3-year action plan that is required for California Firewise communities, the Zone 0 might be added to that. But I think that's to be seen with when they decide that language and when that's in effect.
I,
And again,
I
sorry.
suspect the insurance companies will drive some of that for us.
Absolutely.
Even more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Jennifer, I just want to say thank you. It's Pam again. And very, very good presentation, excellent information. But as you can see, we still don't have all the answers. So the questions coming from you are really important. So if you have not asked them today, please send Jennifer an email. She's posted her email address up on the screen, or our info at FireSafe Monterey. And let us do some work for you and find out where we can help. And if we can get this information, get it out to you and the rest of our communities, that's huge. So we appreciate your participation, your interest, and certainly the fact that you are in Firewise communities or in the Monterey area. So thank you.
Yeah, and please, if there's a need for any home hardening initiatives and there, enough voices, we could see what we could put in for any, with the PG&E grant, there's a lot of communities that want that clearance and can get that clearance through those. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there to, get these things going. But if you have any questions or any off-comment comments, or offline comments, please reach out to me, jenv.ffcmc@gmail.com. For easier maybe response, I'll add it into the chat. And if you have anything maybe more general, you can send it off to info@firesafemonterey.org, and that kind of sends it to all of our team and see who's able to answer it, or who's able to answer your question. And I'll add info as well.
So Jennifer, you have these office hours once a month, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And we are always looking for topics of interest to discuss. So if you have any pressing questions, please send them to Jennifer, and we'll see if we can't put that on our list of things that you really like to hear about, because this is all important for all of us.
Yeah. All right, with that, I will stop my share.